Parshas Va-esChanan, the Zohar portion. Rabbi Yossi opened, saying, Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed to Hashem, "Come and see how potent is the power of Torah, how supreme above all. For whoever engages in Torah does not fear those above or those below, nor any evil mishaps in the world, since he grasps the tree of life and eats from it every day. For Torah teaches a person the true path, advising him how to return to his Lord, nullifying that decree. Even if it has already been ordained against him, it is totally annulled and withdrawn from him, no longer looming over him. The advice one should follow in this world is to engage in Torah day and night, never departing from her. As is written, meditate on it day and night. If one departs from Torah or separates from her, it is like departing from life. Come and see. Here is the advice for a person when he climbs into bed at night. He should accept upon himself wholeheartedly the kingdom on high and deliver to him in advance the pledge of his soul. This has already been established, for the whole world tastes the taste of death. Since the tree of life prevails in the world, and all human spirits depart, ascend, and are delivered to it. Because they are given in pledge, they all return in their places. Come and see, when the north wind awakens at midnight, and a herald comes forth, the Blessed Holy One is aroused in the Garden of Eden to delight with the spirit of the righteous. Then all sons of the Matronita, which is the Shekinah, the feminine divine presence, and all members of the palace devote themselves to praise the Holy King. And all those pledges of spirits that were delivered to him are returned to their owners. Such is the time of the reading after Jewish midnight, which is around 1:30. That is a holy time for God to celebrate with the righteous souls in the Garden of Eden, and also for us to participate in Torah learning and songs of praise. Most inhabitants of the world awake at that time, since all the pledges are with him, with them, and those members of the supernal palace stand at their stations, engaged in the praise of Torah until daybreak, participating with the assembly of Israel. Then when morning comes, she and all members of the palace approach the Holy King. They are called members of the king's palace, children of the Blessed Holy One, as has already been explained. When morning comes, one should cleanse himself in every way and gird his weapons to engage with the Holy King. For in the night he engaged with the Matronita, now he comes with the Matronita to couple her with the king. He comes to synagogue, purifies himself with offerings, chants the praises of David with tefillin on his head and tzitzis on his hem, the phylacteries, and recites the praise of David, as they have established. He offers prayer before his Lord. During the prayer he should stand like the heavenly angels, participating with them, for they are called standing ones. As is said, I will let you move about among these standing ones. And he should focus his intention before his Lord and submit his request. And come and see, when a person arises at midnight from his bed to engage in Torah, a herald stands above him, proclaiming, "Hear, bless Hashem, all you servants of Hashem, who stand in the house of Hashem by night." Now when he stands in prayer before his Lord, that herald stands over him, proclaiming, "I will let you move about among those standing ones." After he concludes the prayer, standing in council before his Lord, they have already established that he should surrender his soul with a willing heart to the required place, etc. Following the Amidah, one recites the Tachanan. These are two portions of the daily prayers. This prayer includes the confession of sins and the petition of grace. It is also known as falling upon the face, which involves a person sitting down and putting his hand over his face. Originally, it was recited in this position, though later it became customary to recite Tachanan in a half-seated, a seated position, with lower head and one's face buried in the bend of the arm. Here, Rabbi Yossi indicates that during Tachana, a person should surrender his soul to Shekhinah, described as the required place. On Tachanan Nefilas Apayim, it's interesting that it is said somewhere that there should not be a break between the Amidah prayer and the Tachanan prayer. Otherwise, the prayer will not be accepted. And this is brought down in a story in the Gemara that we will not go into. How much good advice a person receives regarding all. When prayer is concluded, all those words that a person generated with his mouth during that prayer is sent on high and split the heavens until they reach the place that they reach, adorning the head of the king fashioned into a crown. As the companions have established, when a person presents a prayer to the Blessed Holy One, he should intend his prayer as supplication. How do we know this? From Moses, our master, as it is written, I pleaded with Hashem, for that is a superb prayer. What is a superb prayer? I pleaded with God at that time, saying, My God, you yourself have begun to show your servant your greatness and your mighty hand. This is from this week's portion. What God is there in the heavens and on the earth, who could do like your deeds and like your power, let me see. Please cross over and see the good land that is across the Jordan, this good hill country and the Lebanon. This is related to Moses' plea to God that he should at least see the land of Israel, even though he would not be able to cross into it. Come and see. Whoever stands in prayer should strain his legs, as they have established, and he should cover his head like one sitting before the king, and cover his eyes so as not to look at the Shekinah. It's brought down in many places that people should not look forward during prayer, because this is where the place of the divine presence is, and it's immodest to look at the queen. During the Amidah, one should stand perfectly straight, resembling angels who are similarly praising God. One should also cover his head and eyes with talus. On the presence of Shekinah during prayer, see the many sources presented here. In the name of Va-esChanan, the Chassid, one who prays, should consider himself as if Shekinah were before him, as it is said, I set God before me always. In the book of Rav Hamuna Saba, it says, the person opens his eyes during prayer, or does not lower them toward the ground, the angel of death comes upon him prematurely. But when his soul departs, he will gaze not upon the radiance of the Shekinah, nor will he die by a kiss. Whoever slights Shekinah is himself slighted at the moment that he needs her. This is like seeing a woman when she is immodest. And likewise, the Shekinah, the divine presence, the queen, feminine aspect of God, dislikes to be seen. As is written, for those who honor me will I honor, and those who spurn me will be disdained. This is one who looks at the Shekinah while he is praying. According to this venerable source, it is very dangerous to keep one's eyes open during the Amidah. At the very least, one should lower them toward the ground, otherwise the angel of death, who is described as full of eyes, will come upon him prematurely. On lowering one's eyes during prayer, see the Babylonian Talmud Yavamis. Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Shimon, son Rabbi, were sitting. One of them opened, saying, one who prays must direct his eyes below. The other said his eyes should be directed above. Meanwhile, they were joined by Rabbi Shmuel, son of Rabbi Yossi, who asked, in what are you engaged? They replied in the subject of prayer. He said to them, my father said, one who prays should direct his eyes below and his heart above. On the angel of death as being full of eyes, see volume 8. According to rabbinic tradition, at the moment of death, a person sees Shekinah. Rav Hamuna Saba indicates that one who dares to see her during the Amidah will be prevented from seeing her as he dies. At the moment that he needs her, in the moment Rabbi Doisa Torah states, no human can see me and live. In their lifetime they do not see, but in their death they do. According to another rabbinic tradition, certain virtuous heroes, including Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, died not by the power of the angel of death, but rather by the kiss of God. The passage in Shir Hashirim Rabbah extends this privilege to all the righteous. But how can he look at Shekinah? Rather, he should realize that Shekinah is surely before him. As is written, Hezekiah turned his face to Akir the wall, for there dwells Shekinah. Consequently, nothing could interpose between him and the wall, as has been established. Whoever stands in prayer should first arrange the praise of his Lord, and afterwards submit his request. For Moses, our master, first said, you yourself have begun to show your servant your goodness and your mighty hand. For what God is there in the heavens and on earth, who could do like your deeds and your power? And afterwards let me please cross over and see the good land across the Jordan. But how can he look at Shekinah, since one sees her only at the moment of death? Rather, one should realize that Shekinah is present during prayer. Rabbi Yossi may be associating Kir wall with Kyrios, Lord. Shekinah, the last Sphira, rules as Lord over the world. This is alluding to Hezekiah, who was told that he would die because he did not have a child. So he turned his face to the wall to pray. For there dwells the Shekinah. There's no interposition between him and the wall. He should realize the Shekinah is surely before him. Rabbi Yehuda said, why is it written here first, Adonai, and then Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which we pronounce as Elohim? Well, the sequence is so, from below to above, and to combine the quality of day with night, and of night with day, coupling all as one fittingly. What does that mean? First, Adon, and then Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. The verse in Devarim reads, Adonai, Hashem, my Lord, Hashem, you yourself have begun to show your servant your greatness and your mighty hand. For what God is there in the heavens and on earth who could do like your deeds and like your power? In this verse, the second divine name is written Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, but pronounced as Elohim. Rabbi Yehuda explains that the sequence of names proceeds from the last Sphira, Shekhinah, who is called Adonai, the Tiferes above, who is called Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. So in the chain of creation, in the 10 spheres of emanation, the last one is called the Shekhinah, the last one is the queen. It is symbolized by the mouth organ, and that is referred to as Adonai. Tiferes above is called Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. She is symbolized by day and he by night. The last Sphira, Malchus, or Adon, symbolized by day, and he, Tiferes, the male 6 spheres, are considered by night and are correspondent with Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. The pronunciation of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei as Elohim may allude to Shekhinah, who is sometimes called Elohim, or to Bina, who is called Elohim. On the theme of combining the quality of day with night and of night with day, where Rabbah and Bai indicate that light is mentioned in the evening prayers and darkness in the morning prayers, in order to mention the quality of day during the night and quality of night during the day. So the prayer must have the connotation of Malchus, and at night is the Tiferes with Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Joining prayer day and night seems to have this connotation of joining the two names and joining the Sephirotic system, the male and female components in particular. You yourself have begun to show your servant what beginning is here. Well, surely Moses was the beginning in the world, being totally complete. Now we might say Jacob was complete, and the tree was completed below, corresponding to the pattern above. But what Moses attained, no other human attained, for he was adorned more consummately, with many thousands and myriads of Israel, with Torah, with the dwellings, with Levites, with tribes and princes appointed over them. So why was Moses considered complete? Because he was combined with the many thousands and myriads of Israel, with the 12 tribes and the princes. It was much more elaborate, much more expanded, since Jacob was his ancestor. You yourself have begun. Obviously, God began to show Moses his greatness long before this encounter. So what beginning is here? Rabbi Yehuda explains that Moses himself represents a radical beginning in the world, since he attained the rung of Tiferes, which harmonizes right and left and is totally complete. It is true that Jacob too represents Tiferes, pictured as the cosmic tree. His 12 sons correspond to the 12 potencies of that tree, while the 70 people who traditionally accompanied Jacob when he went to Egypt parallel Tiferes, 70 branches. But Moses surpassed him. On the contrast between Jacob and Moses, on Jacob's being complete, on the 12 potencies of the cosmic tree. He was completed with the whole body, Aaron on the right, Nachshon ben Aminadav on the left, he himself between them. Therefore your greatness on the right, Aaron, and your mighty hand on the left, Nachshon. This has already been said. So Moses was the beginning in the world. He was completed with the whole body, Moses representing Tiferes, including both right and left. Aaron symbolized Chesed, while Nachshon symbolizes Gevurah, the divine left arm. Hesed is also known as Gedula. Gevurah is indicated by the power of your mighty hand. Jacob's being complete. Traditionally coming when he wanted Moses surpassed him. It doesn't say explicitly why Moses surpassed him. Now you might ask, who is the conclusion? Since Moses is the beginning, the conclusion is King Messiah. But then there will be perfection in the world, which has not been so for all generations. At that time, perfection will prevail above and below, and all worlds will be coupled as one. Of then is written on that day, God will be one and his name one. It says here that Moses attained no other human attained. He was adorned more consummately, many thousands and myriads of Israel. So it was with many more citizens of this nation of Israel than the time of Jacob, and thereby he was more complete, more consummated. Yud-Keh Vav-Keh will be one, his name will be one. This verse can imply that in the time of redemption, Tiferes, known as Yud-Keh Vav-Keh, and Shekhinah, known as his name, will both be one. Yud-Keh Vav-Keh said to me, enough for you, speak no more to me of this matter. It is said that Moses prayed to God 515 prayers, and God replied to Moses the at the 115th that he should pray no more, because if he said any more, perhaps God would have been compelled to grant him his wish. Rabbi Kia said, the Blessed Holy One said to Moses, enough for you, that you couple with Shekhinah from here on no more. Rabbi Yitzchak said, enough for you, with the radiance of the sun that you possess no more. For the time of the moon has arrived, and the moon cannot shine until the sun is gathered in. Joshua is symbolized by the moon. But command Joshua and imbue him with strength and courage. You who are the sun must illuminate the moon, as has already been said. Enough for you. God refuses Moses' request to cross the Jordan. It is enough that he united with Shekhinah. Moses as the husband of Shekhinah. The full verse in Devarim reads, and God was wrathful, or was cross with me because of you, and he did not listen to me. God said to me, enough for you, speak no more to me of this matter. Moses attained the rung of Tiferes, symbolized by the sun. His successor, Joshua, attained the rung of Shekhinah, symbolized by the moon. According to rabbinic tradition, the face of Moses was like the face of the sun, and the face of Joshua was like the face of the moon. Command Joshua and imbue him with strength and courage, for he will cross over before this people, and he will enable them to inherit the land that you will see. You cleaving to Hashem your God. Rabbi Yosef said, happy is the people who has it so. Happy is the people whom the Blessed Holy One has chosen from all the peoples, elevating them as his share and bestowing upon them his blessing, the blessing of his name, as is written, their seed Hashem has blessed, Hashem truly. You cleaving to Hashem your God, Israel is truly fortunate to be intimately close to God. The concluding phrase, Hashem truly, emphasizes that the people of Israel is blessed by Tiferes, known as Yud-Keh Vav-Keh, so that they're blessed by his name. The full verse in Deuteronomy reads, you cleaving to Hashem your God are alive, every one of you today. The full verse in Psalms reads, happy is the people who has it so, happy is the people whose God is God. The verse in Isaiah says, all who see them recognize that they are seed of God has blessed. This verse is from this week. You cleaving to God, your God are alive, every one of you today. For this generation and the next, as long as they keep to the Torah, come and see all other people of the world. The Blessed Holy One has given to appointed princes who rule over them, whereas Israel, the Blessed Holy One, has grasped as his share to actually unite with him. And he has given them the Holy Torah in order to unite with his name. Thus, you cleaving to God, not to some appointee, not to any angel, not to any emissary, but with God directly, as with other nations. This has already been established in many places. This is again another theme brought down this week, that it is permissible for other nations to have God associated with other powers in terms of divine connection, but the nation of Israel has to have a direct connection with God. Appointed princes who will rule over them, heavenly princes empowered over the nations of the world. It is said that the 70 nations of the world are ruled by 70 angels. On Torah as God's name, on the supposed Zoharic formula, the Blessed Holy One Torah and Israel are all one. Hashem spoke to you from the midst of the fire, a voice of words you heard. Rabbi Elazar said, this verse should be examined. Kol Debarim, a voice of words. Who is a voice of words? Well, a voice that is called Dibor, speech, for all speech depends on it. Thus it is written, Ve'daber Elokim, God spoke, since speech depends on this place, and this is called a voice of words. You heard, for hearing depends only on this. Since hearing depends on speech, so you heard. As they have already established, his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, because he damaged a place called hearing, which is both speech and hearing. This is brought down in the discussion of slaves. If a Jewish person refuses to be redeemed from slavery, they put an awl over his ear, they pierce it. And this is an undesirable state because Jews should desire to serve God alone instead of a human master. An image you did not see, only a voice. What is meant by an image? As is said, the image of God he beholds. Alternatively, an image, an inner voice, which has not seen at all, only another voice, which we have mentioned. An image, why is it called so? Because the whole configuration of the body issues from it. Now you might say another is also called so. Yes, for from this other one issues the configuration below. Therefore upper hay, lower hay, upper hay is the mighty voice, unceasing, whose springs never stop. All those voices were there when Torah was given to Israel, all issuing from that inner voice, since the word depends on it. That which is called Mishnah Torah, the repetition of Torah, was uttered by Moses from his own mouth. And we have already established the matter. Why so? Well, supernal wisdom is called the totality of Torah, from which issues all through that inner voice. Afterward, all settles, joined to the place called the tree of life, upon which depends the general and the particular. Written Torah, oral Torah, it is called Mishnah Torah, double Torah. God's name has four components: a yud, a hey, a vav, and a hey. There's an upper hay and a lower hay. Upper hay is the mighty voice, unceasing. The springs never stop. All those voices were there when Torah was given to Israel, all issuing from that inner voice, since the word depend on it. That which is called Mishnah Torah, repetition of Torah, was uttered by Moses from his own mouth. We have already established the matter. Why so? Well, supernal wisdom is called totality of the Torah, from which issues all through that inner voice. Afterwards, all settles. All settles, joined to the place called the tree of life, upon which depend the general and particular, written Torah and oral Torah. It is called Mishnah Torah, double Torah. At first, Gevurah, unceasing, now all is one. Still here in these 10 commandments, all is inscribed with Vav, again, one part of God's tetragrammaton. V'loi tinaf, and you shall not commit adultery. V'loi tignov, and you shall not steal. V'loi ta'ane, and you shall not bear false witness. V'loi tachamoid, and you shall not covet. V'loi titave, and you shall not desire, as has been established. Rabbi Yosef said, what is meant by v'loi titave, and you shall not desire, when it is already written, v'loi tachmoid, and you shall not covet, since the latter should suffice? Reply, happy are the masters of truth. Coveting is one wrong, desire another. Coveting, if he can, he proceeds to take it, because of that coveting he feels. He goes to commit the act, desire not so. For even if he does not take that path, he has still violated the commandment. All this has been established by the companions. This has to do with the commandment of coveting and desiring, neither of which are desirable. Rabbi Yosef said to him, why isn't it written, V'loi tirisa, you shall not murder like these other ones? He replied, because judgment depends on Gevurah, not on the place of compassion. On Loi tirza, you shall not murder, is not written with a vav. Since 5 vavs are needed, one is added to the Loi titave, and you shall not desire, or for in Loi tirisa, you shall not murder, no vav should appear as it is added here. This must be to do with Kabbalistic idea having to do with the letters. Above might symbolize something in particular, like the aspect of severity. Rabbi Pinchas, who was sitting behind him, heard he kisses him and wept and laughed. He said, Cub and lion, none can stand before them. Who in the world can stand before him and his father? Happy is the share of the righteous. Happy is my share in this world and the world that is coming, that I attain this. Of this is written, the righteous shall see and rejoice. That is behind Rabbi Elazar. According to the Zohar, Pinchas is the father-in-law of Rabbi Shimon, and thus Rabbi Elazar's grandfather. Here he praises both of them, the young cub and the mature lion, and celebrates his relation to them. On Rabbi Pinchas in the Zoharic role as Rabbi Shimon's father-in-law, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon as lions, on the expression wept and laughed. The act of murder reflects the harsh quality of judgment, which derives from Gevurah on the left side, not from the realm of compassion identified with Tiferes. Compassion and Tiferes are symbolized by the letter Vav in the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. So fittingly, this murderous commandment is not written with a Vav. So Vav here connotes kindness, and that's why it's not included in these commandments. However, 5 Vavs are needed here in the second half of the 10 commandments in order to represent the 5 spheres surrounding Tiferes. Hasek Gevurah Netzach Chaydi Yesod. Or perhaps, in order to represent the letter He, which is numerically equivalent to 5, and which symbolizes Tiferes' partner, Shekhinah, the 5th Vav is provided at the beginning of Lo Tetave, and you shall not desire. Whew, that's a doozy. We'll do one last one. Rabbi Elazar opened. You go near and hear all that God, our God, says. Coming here, when the Torah was given to Israel, all those voices were present, with the Blessed Holy One sitting on the throne, and one was seen within another, the utterance of each issuing from within the one above it. This is the mystery written. Face to face, God spoke with you on the mountain, from the midst of the fire. For the utterance issued and spoke from the midst of the fire and flame, which thrust it forward by the force of wind and water, empowering fire, wind, and water from within the shofar, which contains them all. And Israel drew back from the frightening experience. Tidabir, and it is you who will speak to us. We do not want supreme power from above, rather from the place of the female. No further. Moses said, You have surely weakened my power and weakened another power. For if Israel had not distanced themselves and not had heard that entire utterance as at first, the world would have been indestructible, and they would have endured for countless generations. Because the first time they died, for so it had to be due to the tree of death, after they revived and rose and desired to enter the tree of life which stands above the tree of death, so that they would endure forever, they drew back unwilling. So Moses' power over them was weakened, and another power was weakened. This is an allusion to the giving of the Torah, when God spoke to them directly. It is said in the commentaries that the Jewish people all died, and they had to be resurrected by the dews from heaven. After they were resurrected, they pleaded that it should be Moses to speak to them, and rather than from God directly, because every time God spoke, their souls would leave their body. It was a tremendously painful experience. Here it seems to be saying that had they endured or had they desired that God speak to them directly, they would have endured forever. And the effect on the world would be that it would be immune from harm. So Moses' power then was weakened, and another power was weakened. The Blessed Holy One said, I wanted to establish you in an exalted place so that you would cleave to light, but you wanted the place where the female dwells. Go say to them, return to your tents. Each one should go to his female and unite with her. Nevertheless, since Israel acted only out of the supernal awe that was upon them, all that was said of them was, with that they had this heart of theirs to revere me. From here we learn that if someone commits an act, yet without setting his heart and intent to the evil side, even though he commits wrongs, since he did not act intentionally, no punishment falls upon him as on another person, and the Blessed Holy One does not render judgment against him for evil. So God was compassionate with him, with them, and with all those who sin, perhaps, without the intention of sin. The full verse reads, "You go near and hear all that God our God says. It is you who will speak to us all that God our God speaks to you, and we will hear and do." When the Torah was given to Israel at Mount Sinai, all the Sephirotic voices or faces were manifested, each one seen within the other. Fire symbolizes Gevurah, the aspect severity. Water symbolizes Chesed, and wind symbolizes Tiferes. All these Sephirotic elements issue from Bina, who is pictured as a shofar. Bina is the upper intellectual faculty, also known as the mother. It is the second sphera, and some say the third, who is pictured as a shofar. On seeing the voices at Sinai and on Israel's reaction to the entire experience, all the people were seeing Hakalit, the thunderings of the voices, and the flashes and cold, the sound, or the voice of the shofar and the mountain smoking, and the people saw and trembled, and they stood at a distance. In the name of Rabbi Akiva, all the people were seeing Hakalit, the thunderings, or the voices, they were seeing the firing word issuing from the mouth of power and being engraved on the tablets, and Bina as a shofar. Va-tidabir, and it is you who will speak. According to the simple sense in this verse, the word at represents a rare archaic form of the masculine pronoun you, referring, of course, to Moses. Normally, though, at indicates the feminine form of the pronoun you, as opposed to the classical masculine form, ata. Adopting the normal feminine sense of at, Rebbe Lezer construes it here as alluding to the divine feminine, Shekhinah. Overwhelmed by the masculine power, Tiferes or Zirampim, Israel pleaded with Moses, Va'at tidabir, let namely Shekhinah, speak to us. The word tidabir can mean either you will speak or she will speak, and Rebbe Lezer apparently adopts the latter sense. In response, Moses accused Israel of weakening both his power and God's power by the refusal to continue hearing God's masculine voice. According to rabbinic tradition, at Mount Sinai, God began speaking to Israel directly. But after hearing the first two of the Ten Commandments, the Israelites were overwhelmed. They asked Moses to convey the rest of the revelations to them. On the wording, Ve'at tidabir, see Rashi on Devarim. On Israel's asking Moses to convey the revelation after hearing the first two commandments, see Shir Shirim Rabbah. Because the first time they died, when God began to proclaim the Ten Commandments, Israel could not bear the power of the divine voice, and they died. This was due to Shekhinah, who is identified as the tree of death. They were immediately revived and sought to enter the tree of life, symbolizing Tiferes. However, since they drew back out of fear, Moses' power was weakened, and God's power too. The first voice, conveying the first of the Ten Commandments, came forth, and the people of Israel fell on their faces and died. Then the second voice came forth, and they revived and stood on their feet and said to Moses, Moses, our master, we cannot hear the voice of the Blessed Holy One, and die as we just died, as it said. My soul departed as he spoke. And it is written, they said to Moses, Speak you with us, that we may hear, and let not God speak with us, lest we die. In the name of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, with every utterance that came forth from the mouth of the Blessed Holy One, the souls of Israel departed, as it said, My soul departed as he spoke. But since their souls departed at the first utterance, how could they receive the second utterance? He brought down dew, with which he will one day revive the dead and revive them. God wanted Israel to attain the rung of Tiferes, symbolized by the tree of life, but out of fear they preferred the lower rung of Shekhinah, divine feminine. Fittingly, God told them, Return to your tents to unite with your wives. Moses separated himself from his wife because he was the greatest prophet and must be ready to receive prophecy at all time. He departed from his wife, and some say he divorced his wife. What did he interpret? He applied an a fortiori argument to himself, reasoning with regarding the Israelites with whom the divine presence, Shekhinah, spoke only on one occasion, and for whom he set a time. Torah said, Ready yourself for 3 days, do not go near a woman. Then I, with whom Shekhinah speaks at all times, for whom he does not set a time, how much more so? And how do we know that alludes to his divorcing his wife or leaving his wife? How do we know that the Blessed Holy One gave his approval? Because it is written, Go say to them, Return to your tents. Interpreted midrashically as meaning return to your wives. House often symbolizes the wife, which is followed by, and you stand here with me. On this Talmudic passage, see sources. The hermeneutic principle, Calva Kramer, A fortiori from the Stronger, refers to a conclusion that is inferred to be even more certain than another. If X is true, then certainly Y is true. Nevertheless, since Israel acted, the people withdrew from the direct encounter with Pharaoh or Zerampin because they were overwhelmed by awe, not out of any sinful intention. So God did not punish them. Rather, he expressed the wish that they would always revere him. In the concluding sentence, the phrase another person means someone who sins intentionally, on the notion that one who commits a transgression unintentionally is not punished. Would that they had this heart of theirs to revere me, and to keep my commands for all time, so that I would go well with them, or with their children forever. Yeah, this brings down the Jewish law principle, the halakhic principle. Another person means someone who sins unintentionally. On the notion that one who commits a transgression unintentionally is not punished. That's quite lenient. For the moment of the revelation at Mount Sinai, Moses separated from his wife and from the divine feminine and cleaved to the divine male. The adjective good alludes to Yesod, which is known as the righteous one. Say of the righteous one that he is good. Yesod is the sephirotic divine organ that alludes to reproductive organ. The fact that Moses is described as good alludes to his attainment of Yesod, which is an aspect of purity. That is, he now stands on the sephirotic rung, which is above the Shekhinah, which is right above the Sephira of Malchus, who is symbolized by holy ground. On the invocation, and you stand here with me, see the passage in Babylonian Talmud. On Moses' celibacy, see the parallels there. Go say to them, return to your tents, and you stand here with me, and I will speak to you all the commands, and all the statutes and the laws that you will teach them, and they will do them in the land that I am giving them to possess. On the verse in Isaiah, say the righteous one that he is good. On the Yesod as the righteous one, I find woman more bitter than death, for she is all snares in her heart's nets and her arms fetters. He who is good before God will escape her, and a sinner will be trapped by her. This is alluding to a, a bad woman, an evil woman, for which the end of evil has no end. The full verse in Exodus describing the birth of Moses reads, "The woman conceived and bore a son, and she saw that he was good, and she hid him 3 months. Do not come any closer, and move your sandals from your feet, for the place which you stand is holy ground." These are all expositions of this coming and going phraseology.